because it's just getting way too unaffordable for most people. I mean, nowadays, if you look at any condos in downtown Toronto, you're looking at roughly $1,500 per square foot now, right? So, we did a quick calculation on the cap rate for any investors. It's less than 2%, right? And on top of that, like the appreciation is not super, super high, like compared to detached homes and things like that. So, that's why when we talk to all these different homeowners and realtors like yourself, a lot of people actually see the potential in using coach houses as a new way of generating passive income. We did a calculation too. Like, it turned out that coach houses with the rates that we're selling these things at can generate you up to 8%, sometimes even 10%, depending on where you are and how high you can get the rents. So that's basically what I've seen in the market and people's reaction to coach houses.
Welcome to Supply and Demand with Adam Nadler. This is a podcast dedicated to the real estate market in Canada, available now on YouTube, Apple Music, and Spotify. Hey Pablo, hey Maya, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Adam?
How are you, Adam?
Doing well. So for everybody who doesn't know who you guys are and what you do, could you please kind of give us a small intro of exactly what your company is and what you do?
Sure, Maya, you want to take it away, or do you want me?
Well, you're the owner, so you go ahead.
Okay. So we're basically I own a couple of companies. One of them being Terra Hills Developments, which is a general development corporation which specializes in land sourcing, basically full development of commercial, institutional, and residential land. So be it, for example, subdivisions or even commercial subdivisions or industrial subdivision parks. And a subsidiary of that is Epic Mod, which is our panelized and modularization phase on what we do when it comes to the development part. Now, what that is basically, just to make it concise, but for anybody who hasn't heard it, panelization is basically taking, for example, let's say a structure apart into pieces and turning it into panels, and we manufacture the panels, and those panels are shipped to the construction sites, and they're built in place instead of actually having to be done by hand the way they used to be done before, like stick by stick or stick framing, like they used to call it. And modularization is a step farther from that. It's literally just building, taking construction into pieces again, but building it into modules that can be transported, completed, and then placed into the sites.
So,
and by the way, we've been in business I've been in the construction business for about 34 years myself, and I'm a third generation builder. My father's a builder, and so was my grandpa.
So you guys are builders, and I was very interested in the call I got from Maya because it must have been 2-3 weeks ago now. You guys are starting this whole kind of division on garden suites, and I found that super interesting. And in fact, in one of my previous podcasts, I just mentioned this to you guys before we started shooting. I had a mortgage broker on, really, really smart guy. And one of his final comments on the podcast, after we had talked about it for about 10 minutes, was, and his exact words were, "Mark my words, garden suites are going to be the new big thing. Everyone's going to be looking to learn how to maximize value of their property and make some potential rental income without having to move out of their home." And that this was going to be a really big thing moving forward for the next decade in the Toronto real estate market. And so I was very, very much of the same thought process there. And then I got a comment in the YouTube section of that video saying, "Hey, could you please do a video on garden suites or do a podcast on garden suites?" And so when I got that call from you, Maya, I was very, very excited because this is a really, really cool way of adding value into a property that you already own. There's just a lot of people who own property where there's land just kind of hanging out in the backyard that could be used for extra rental income. And so I wanted you guys to kind of take us through what does that look like? How are you doing this? How many projects have you completed? And what are the numbers behind it all?
Sure. Do you want to take a little bit on the real estate side or what you're seeing, Maya, and then I'll take it on the technical side of it?
Sure. Well, on the real estate side, I guess I can comment a little bit about people's general perception about coach houses, because I've been doing a lot of calls to different kinds of people, real estate agents and homeowners alike. And I think exactly like what you said. Um, Definitely a lot of people are looking for a way to, I mean, people that still have the money to put away somewhere that they want to use for investment purposes. Nowadays it's actually getting harder and harder to come up with investment opportunities that are accessible to the general public, because as recently as a decade ago, right, people still had the opportunity to, let's say, buy into condos that are rough used to be roughly like $800 per square foot, right, and be able to generate a pretty healthy return by renting it out. But due to all the recent market changes, policy changes, there's a whole bunch of factors that actually drove up the prices of real estate in general, and obviously condos, they cannot escape from that trend. So nowadays when people invest in condos, it's no longer the stepping stone that it used to be. So it's, for you to actually, for any investor to invest in real estate, their primary goal, I mean, there's two primary goals, obviously. One is to basically generate cash flow, positive cash flow, if possible. And second of all is through long-term appreciation, so that when they eventually cash out or dispose of the property, there will be a healthy gain at the end, right? But right now, I think condos are kind of failing in achieving that purpose for most people, because it's just getting way too unaffordable for most people. I mean, nowadays, if you look at any condos in downtown Toronto, you're looking at roughly $1,500 per square foot now, right? So we did a quick calculation on the cap rate for any investors. It's less than 2%, right? And on top of that, like, the appreciation is not super high, like compared to detached homes and things like that. So that's why when we talk to all these different homeowners and realtors like yourself, a lot of people actually see the potential in using coach houses as a new way of generating passive income. We did a calculation too, like, it turned out that coach houses, with the rates that we're selling these things at, can generate you up to 8%, sometimes even 10%, depending on where you are and how high you can get the rents. So that's basically what I've seen in the market and people's reaction to coach houses.
So talk to me technically, what are they? How do you guys put them together? What's the process look like?
Actually, yeah, that's a very good question. You also asked, how many projects we've done. So, like I said, in my 35 years, we've built literally, I mean, we're Terra Hills certified builders. We've built hundreds and hundreds of structures with garden suites and all the trimmings. I mean, so this right now, for example, we're building a massive 12,000 square foot house down by the beaches. So we've seen it all, we've done it all. But ever since the government came up with basically this new mandate that would allow people to build a coach house as long as they comply with minimum setbacks that have been set by bylaw, that opened a whole new market for us. And I'll tell you a little bit about it simply because it'll take me to the technical part of it. They basically took away committee of adjustments. So committee of adjustments is no longer relevant as long as you comply with the sizing. So for example, if I look at, like you said, I mean, great example, let's say a backyard that is empty and you have, I don't know, 45 feet wide by, 40 feet deep, I can definitely accommodate with a coach house that will comply, that can generate you income. So what we've done technically is very, very simple. We sat down, I mean, we've been tinkering around with modularization since probably 2007. But the Canadian industry in general, but in Ontario as well, moves quite slow. I mean, these are things that do not very, very quickly gain steam, if you know what I mean. So we have been working on that. We've been obviously we've been panelizing, which is the in my opinion the prior step to modularizing. But then also we said, okay, if we're going to sit down with my team, and we have a full team of engineers, and we have project managers, we sat down with Maya, who's in the real estate side. We sat down with some people that actually wanted to, for example, do an investment and they don't know how to get to it. So we looked at every aspect and said, okay, what is it that we need to build? So this is what we came up with. There are existing conditions, and that was one of the first, I guess, items that we used, or markers that we used in order to create this units. Existing conditions could be, for example, there are many houses in the GTA that might have a laneway with a little separate garage in the back, and this, especially on the older houses, you're going to see that. Well, so we figure most people would need a garage. So why don't we design? So we put together a total of about 5 to 6 models right now. One of them fits exactly on a single car garage by code, basically how code specifies that the size of a single car garage should be. The other one fits in a 1.5 car garage. The other one fits in a double car garage, but they can also be standalone. What does that mean? For example, so let's just say you already have an existing structure of, let's say, a double car garage, even attached to your house. And that's another thing that a lot of people don't realize. It doesn't have to be in the yard, for example. Let's just say sometimes you buy a house and you have a double car garage, and above it there is nothing. There's no bedrooms. There's nothing. There's just, like, I mean, we're doing one right now where there's a bungalow, and the bungalow has nothing on top of the garage. Obviously, this is a bungalow. So we're able to cut into the existing structure and place one of our existing models directly on top of that because it complies with the size. So how it is very, very simple. The first thing we do is we take the Ontario Building Code, which is everything that we build has to comply with the Ontario Building Code, and then we literally engineer a tiny home, not to take away from what a tiny home is, like not the tiny home on wheels, but everything that we do with a coach house is exactly the same that you would do with a large or your main residence, for example. We have to have full engineering. We have to have surveys completed. We have to have a way to connect it to sewer, to water, to electricity. By the way, that is connected directly to the main structure. So you're not going to get separate connections for sewer, water, electricity, or gas from the city. It is actually piggybacking off your existing structure. So, which actually makes it what it is. This is the reason why they made the law, because in reality now, technically speaking, you have a secondary unit, but it's still part of your main structure, which, again, when it comes to the financing part of it and so on and so forth, anybody who has some equity or anybody who's running a mortgage can add the structure that's going to come into place into their existing mortgage, or piggyback it from their line of credit or whatever it is that they have, making it significantly simpler, because any type of equity would facilitate significantly more to be able to get a line of credit or a mortgage. And these things can be mortgaged for 25 years, 30 years, doesn't really matter. So now, and this is why Maya was saying that when you look at the numbers now, the returns on investment are huge. We designed them to spec the same way you would do a regular house. And we have models anywhere from 276 square feet all the way up to 1,200 square feet. And believe it or not, you can fit a 1,200 square feet coach house 2-story in a yard. Now, we will obviously, technically speaking, provide, if needed, building reports that are particular to a particular site. But this applies pretty much throughout the whole GTA and Ontario as a whole, as far as I know, that as long as you comply with the sizing, we can actually set a model in there. And of course, we have different size models, because obviously there's different size yards, there's different size, there's just different access to those yards, there's different ways of doing it. Now, modular, which is basically building the whole structure at the shop and bringing it to the site, is a little bit less common, not because we don't want to build it on site completely, but because a lot of the areas where we deliver does not have access for us to crane a unit in place. There's wires, overhead wires, there's sometimes there's trees, or there's bushery, sometimes because it's a backyard, the cranes just don't have the reach in order to drop it. So we've done panelization significantly more than modularization. So I know it's a little bit technical, it's a little complicated, but basically when the whole product is completed, for example, just to give you an idea, we have a bachelor that consists of the 276 square foot. It's a nice open space, fully designed kitchen, bathroom, washer and dryer, so laundry facilities as well. And it's absolutely 100% self-contained, and it's finished. So this is what we've done. We've looked at the best luxury condos in the city, and we put those type of finishes there. The finishes are made to take a pounding but look beautiful. So we have design packages that you can pick from. But also what we've done in order to keep the prices down, we've made them into packages. So that way, when you pick a package, there's no surprise costing, there's no surprise additions to that, which is actually a great thing. But the best thing about it is that after the process is completed, you can get an appraisal on that. And now, obviously, because we're actually certified and we're bonded and we're insured, and we're registered, of course, now it actually brings up the value of your existing property by at least the amount that you spent. We find that it's about 1.5 times what you spend, the value that is being given for the properties. But like I said, the most important part is that once you go through the whole process and you get a permit in hand, we have non-invasive or least invasive construction techniques that we use. For example, helical piles and beam footings for your foundation. What that means is basically no digging. So it's actually significantly less intrusive. And these things, if everything is according to the way it's supposed to be, we can have one up and running, whether it's a single story or two-story, in about 10 to 12 weeks from start to finish. So that brings it to the market significantly quicker. So now imagine if you within, let's say, worst case scenario, 12 weeks, you can actually now have a property that you can rent, or you can get, for example, your children that are in their late 20s or early 30s that are trying to, get a down payment for a property. And like Maya said, a condo now is $1.5 million for 1,000 square feet. So, a 700 square foot condo will run you almost $1 million. Down payments for that are above $250,000. So, in the meantime, if you can have them here, and by the way, just to give you an idea, let's just say if you were to order one of our 1,000 square foot suites, which is one of the biggest, the 1,200 square foot suites, you're running in the low 300s. I think about 318 or 325. I'm not 100% sure with the numbers, but that's fully done. And what that means is that we have two models. One is a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. The other one is a 2-bedroom, 2 large bathrooms, plus actually 2.5 bathrooms, fully designed kitchens, living area, patio doors. And I mean, we are very, very picky about our finishes. We do a lot of built-in furniture, so that basically means the allocation of space is done to the fullest. Self-contained utility closets with either instant water heaters or just regular water heaters, laundry facilities. For example, our kitchen designs, we don't have options for soft closers or anything like that. It's already included. So it's really, really, really as nice as you can get it. Now, to make it in a way where where you understand how we can keep the prices like that is very, very simple. Because this is, I guess you can call it a secondary business to what we're doing, which is a development company, we decided to cut our margins down lower. So we're happier with a lower margin as long as we can brand and we can take it out to the market. But also, and Maya will tell you this, we decided to participate fully with real estate agents as well to sell the product and pay them what they're worth. Because I actually believe that there's always been a disconnect between builders and realtors, and builders use realtors when they need them and they kind of set them to the curb when they don't. And that, in my opinion, is a mistake. I think it needs to be integrated. I think it needs to be all part of the same package. We are in the real estate industry, and this is basically what it is. But the best part about this is that it benefits pretty much everyone who's involved, from the manufacturing side. And obviously, we're automating, so we're putting significant amount of funds into the automation part of it, because then we can keep the costs down, because obviously it's done. But now, one more thing, and I'll keep it, and I'll end it with this. Imagine the impacts when it comes to the environment, if anybody's concerned about that. when you're building in a controlled environment, which is a factory setting or a shop setting, we can order our product, our supplies to measure, which basically means that we have practically no waste. When you're building a house, for example, any 2,500 square foot house will have at least 2 to 3 bins full of garbage that you dispose from on site. And I'm telling you this for over 3 decades of experience. This way, we'll probably have a bin every 40 or 50 units, which is a huge improvement when it comes to less waste and better allocation of environmental regulations, if you ask me. So yeah, so like I said, the benefits are huge. Technically speaking, it's no different from anything that you're living in right now. We still have to comply. We still have to get your permit. We still have to get all the inspections done. We have to get structural, electrical, plumbing, HVAC inspections done. We have to pass all that. And once we're ready to give you the suite back, we will give you an occupancy certificate that is registered with the city, whatever city you happen to be living in. So it'll be fully inspected by city inspectors. So obviously, because we are in Ontario, we have to comply by code. So what that does, and this is very, very important, is it makes the property insurable. And that's actually a huge deal. We've heard, well, can I buy this thing online and I can bring it in? Yes, you can. The problem is that it will not comply with building code because it cannot be inspected. If it cannot be inspected, it doesn't pass. If it doesn't pass inspection, it's not insurable. And God forbid, knock on wood, anything happens, you catch a fire. Like I said, the systems are connected to your systems in your own house. You catch a fire, you have a flood, you have an issue, insurance will not cover you for that. So we make sure that everything is taken care of in this. We make sure that we are covering pretty much as many points as we can on the technical side. And again, this is a little bit of just an overview of what it is. But in a nutshell, there's a lot more to it, but I'm just trying to keep it as tight as I possibly can. And hopefully it'll help somebody to have a slight more understanding of what the procedure is when it comes to that.
So this is, I mean, I guess just technically speaking, for people who have homes in areas where the lots are much larger. So, I'm thinking, I mean, I'm situated in Richmond Hill. In Richmond Hill, there are some areas where you have some really deep lots, older homes sitting on them, that kind of thing. You need to have, I'm guessing, 200 amps service entrance cable coming in.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right. So like,
yeah.
so this is not this is a particular product. It's not for your typical 50 by 120 single detached family home. This is more for those bigger lots that can actually have the space to and the setbacks available to do it.
Well, not really, actually, because like I said, we've the setbacks that are provided right now in order to accommodate is a maximum of 15 feet away from your main structure. So let's say if you have, so let's just say you have a 40-foot deep lot behind your house, right? So let's just say you have, like I said, a 120 by 50. That'll give you at least a 40 by 50 wide in the back, or even a 30 by 30 wide. We can still accommodate you because as long as we have 4 feet away from any fences all the way around and maximum 15 feet from the back, we can accommodate, which is the reason why we have a 276 square foot unit. So we have, we can accommodate it in a lot that has minimum, I believe the minimums are 30 feet wide by, and I will correct me if I'm wrong, by about 30 feet deep. So if you have a yard that is 30 by 30, I can accommodate a suite on it. Now, obviously, it might not be the biggest suite. You might probably end up with maximum of 400 square foot suite, but we can still accommodate.
Wow. That's impressive. That's really impressive. And I've never heard of something like that before. These garden suites where people are just, are looking for, like Maya was saying, investments and, places to get cash flow. They're not, they're not really abundant anywhere right now. And having the ability to create rental income from your own property without having to move out and without having to rent out, let's say, your basement, or actually take living space out of your existing home. I mean, this is just, it is a complete paradigm shift in how real estate is done now and how we're packing more density into already existing areas. I love the idea. I'm curious as to the numbers now, because that's always the, you know, the $1 million question, or in this case, I'm sure a lot less
Yes.
than $1 million question. But
Yeah.
w- what what numbers are we talking about here? And I'm sure you guys run these kinds of performas all the time.
Yes.
Given current market rent, given the current interest rates that we're seeing right now, how are these prices able to kind of accommodate the current marketplace and cash flow everything nicely?
Maya, you want to take on that?
Sorry, the question is how can you repeat that question?
Yeah, so given the current market rents, given the
Yeah.
current interest rates,
Mhm.
rent is up 25% year over year, obviously really, really helping to soften the calculations off of the interest rates, which are beating everyone down right now. Um, how do you guys kind of calculate everything and create a pricing structure that works based on the current market?
Right. Okay. Well, so one of the considerations is obviously exactly like what you said. Most people are investing into it because of cash flow, and we need to create a cash flow positive investment in this case. So let's just take one of the models, that standard models that we've developed as an example. Um, if you're looking at, let's say, one of the models is 910 square feet that we have, which is a two-story, two-bedroom model. And we kind of took a look at some of the comparables that are somewhat similar to it in downtown, like in the Leslieville area, I think. And that's recently rented for $3,600 a month plus utilities and insurance, right? So uh, you're basically looking at something that cost you roughly $300,000 plus HST to build. Um, if you put that
No,
into, sorry, what is it?
the $300,000 is what it cost you to build one of ours at 940 square feet.
Exactly. Yeah. So now, obviously, like, once you turn that into a mortgage, when you're done, the construction, the monthly mortgage amount that you pay on $300,000, correct me if I'm wrong, it would be what would be roughly what,
17.
like 2000 something in the $2,000 range, right?
It's 1,700 plus taxes and all that, so it runs up. I would say 1950 to 2,000. Yeah.
Yeah, let's just say around 2000. So, you know, but you're getting something that is over $3,000 per month, right? So it more than covers the extra mortgage amount that's created because of building it. So from an investment perspective, that makes sense because nowadays it's very rare for anybody to be able to find cash flow positive properties in Toronto or anywhere close to Toronto because of the high land values associated with them. So having this particular method of passive income generation is actually pretty cool, and that basically that's one of the considerations that we had when it comes to pricing these things. Another is basically, from a cost perspective, right? Because obviously, in order for us to come up with attractive prices, we need to, attractive prices, we need to kind of compress the cost as much as possible. And one way of us being able to do it is through modularization and panelization, which cuts costs by at least 30% compared to traditional type of construction. So with all the cost savings that we're able to get through this, and the time that we can shave off of project time, right, compared to traditional ways of building, we're able to kind of translate all those cost savings into a very, very nice package price to pass on to the end user, so that they are able to so that as soon as they're finished with building their coach house, not only are they going to have the extra equity on their house right away due to the low cost that they incur while building it, and the standard prices that the appraiser is going to give them, right, for those types of products, but also they're going to start generating passive income right away, right? So basically, those are the two considerations that we kind of that we really think about when we price these things.
So on average, I know obviously all the models will differ, but on average, what cost per square foot are we looking at here?
Roughly in the
That's the rate.
that's what I'll let Pablo talk about that.
Yeah, so it's anywhere between the high 200s to the low 300s, and obviously that includes a fully finished product. It includes the installation of the product, for example, to give you an idea, when you buy one of our packages, it comes with a full. Of course, it is included in the price, but it comes even though it's so you get invoiced separately, so you can see where all the funds are gone. But we also provide you with a full set of full engineering drawings, permit drawings, ready to go. So literally, this is, you pick a model, once you're, and we have models that start about 100,000. Just the low hundreds, I think it's 104 or something like that, 104,000, something like that. And they go as high as, I think, 300 and change just for the last one, for the biggest ones. So now what that means is that not only can we put a cleaner, nicer product together, but also long-lasting items in our products. For example, just to give you an idea, we have full fiberglass shower enclosures with 6mm tempered glass on them, very high-end, very clean-looking. Everything is done by the book. I mean, we have luxury vinyl, hand scraped luxury vinyl products throughout. So just in case if you're renting it and if they happen to spill water, they happen to do it, that's fine. We have insulated concrete for the below the slab and the main floor. We have obviously from the house, actually from the house out, all the connections and everything else is included on that. And of course, your inspections and everything, it's literally just turnkey. Even at the back end, when it's all finished, we do a full move-in ready type of cleaning service. So when your purchase is finished, you can literally move it. And usually, like I said, from the time we get permit. So for example, that's one of the things that is also goes to cost, because you're into the market significantly quicker than, for example, waiting 2 years for a condo project to close before you start getting your investment, because a lot of people buy condos pre-construction. So this is very, very, very easy, very quick. The moment you have a permit, we don't even touch your lot until the permit is ready. So when we give you the date to say, okay, permit is ready, this is when we're coming in, from that moment on, like I said, 10 weeks, maybe 12 weeks at most, you're ready to go. And we leave your lot exactly the same way we found it. Like, I mean, there's no extra cost. There's no, oh my God, now I have to do landscaping because they made a mess. None of that. So it's very, very, very controlled. So not only do we try to keep the costs as low as we possibly can, but we also include in our costs, we include the state of the lot once it's before we start, the state of the lot after it's completed, and pretty much everything else that needs to be included. We have, I think we only have a couple of options for exterior cladding, obviously, because these are light structures. Anybody can do pretty much anything they want, but we, from the factory, we have only a few options for that. So it's actually kind of fun because it's like shopping for a car. You come in, you say, this is the model I want, this is the type of cabinets I want, this is the kind of siding I want, this is the kind of roofing I want. And right now, just to add to this, we're actually working into building only structure kits. So for example, let's just say for somebody who cannot afford a whole thing, they can just buy the structure kit from one of our models, any model, and they can finish the interior themselves, for example. So they can buy the shell and they can say, well, my father does drywall and my uncle is an electrician and so on and so forth. So they could do that as well. So we're trying to make it into a way where pretty much anybody can either afford to start with a full built product or with a structural product, which, by the way, will get also inspected to make sure that it complies with code. So everything that we send you is compliant. So you can build it by following very, very simple set of instructions. This is panelized. And even somebody who has a little bit of experience can put it together. So we literally send you a bundle and it can be done like putting together Lego blocks, 1, 2, 3, ABC, and up it goes. It's quite a simple way of putting it together. So we're working on that as well, as it is right now.
Well, I think what you guys are doing is absolutely fantastic. There are very, very few, I mean, tenable solutions that are being brought forward by whether it's private or the public sector in terms of bringing more supply and more housing to our booming population right now. Immigration is at all-time highs and seems to be accelerating. We simply don't have enough space for everybody. We don't have enough supply, and this type of solution is a tenable, real solution that people can actually cash flow off of as well. So it makes investment sense as well. I love it. I personally think that this is one of the biggest paradigm shifts that we're going to see in creating more density, more housing in Toronto, probably for the next decade. So I think what you guys are doing is fantastic. I wanted to thank you guys for taking the time to really help everybody on this channel at least get educated on what it is that is possible. And if they already have a home and they're looking to, cash flow a little more, have some kind of extra pocket change, things like that going into clearly a recession, that, this is a very easy way to do that. And so I think it's great. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to chat. And I really hope that everybody who's watching this, um, who is interested, reach out to these guys. Can you guys just kind of let us know where people can find you?
Yeah, for sure. Our shop is located in Ramera. And what we can do is we'll provide the contact information so you can post it on the video or in some other ways if people are interested.
Can people find you on like online, social media, anything like that?
Well, we have a website. That's pretty much our online presence so far. And we can reach by phone and email.
We're launching next spring, so it's
Yeah.
we're not 100% set up yet. So, but we will, if you don't mind, Adam, we will stay in contact with you, communication with you, because once the shop is fully set up, maybe what we'll do is we'll do a small video and a walkthrough, and we'll be happy to share it with you and your viewers as well.
Yeah.
I would
So
love
everybody can
that.
have a little bit more understanding.
I would love that, and I appreciate that, and I thank you so much for it. Yeah, we're gonna put your guys' information in the description below this video, so guys, check it out there. Also, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. If you enjoy this content, hit that like button so this content can be pushed out to more people like yourself. Thank you guys again. We will definitely be in touch. I love what you guys are doing, and yeah, have an amazing day, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, follow, and give us a review.